I'm Alta. Welcome back to my channel. If you're coming back, thanks for coming. If you're new, I am a professional artist and I paint a series called Jack the Space Dog, which is a saga about Jack, the German Shepherd, and Aeon as they travel through interstellar space on giant adventures and try not to mess it up too much. Normally, in these videos, I tell stories about Jack and Aeon to fill in the background about these large and epic paintings that I do. Through a bunch of recent live events that I've done and live appearances, I have met a lot of art students because, unlike when I went to school at the university, the art program here, where I live, is now very big. And the question I always get is they're seeing me for the first time at a live event, very crystallized vision for what I'm doing, who I am, how I go about it, because I've been doing it for a long time. And their question is always, how do I do that? Like I'm going to graduate in a year or two and I want to be a professional artist. I want to do this for a living. How do you do it for a living? Because the answer is very tailored and it's very individual, but I do have some pointers and I do have some opinions and you can take them or leave them, but they are carved out of years and years of doing this, hours and hours and hours and hours of painting and thinking about painting and trying to have other people see what I'm thinking and painting about. I went to art school. I listened a lot at the time when I first started art school to what professors were saying about what art should be and what art shouldn't be. And one of the reasons I left is once I started creating stuff that I was really passionate about, I was told that's not art. In my mind, not that anything you make is art. I don't think that that's true either. But I think that there are things you can innovate and things you can make. I learned a lot in art school. I originally did abstract painting, and I didn't do abstract painting because I couldn't do realism and figurative stuff. I was very good at making realism, figure drawing, rendering people's faces and portraits and scenery. I learned all of that in art school, which was very helpful. But the thing that I learned that was actually valuable in art school was how to see. That's really what they teach you how to do. How to see things for what they are. Because once you can recreate the world around you reliably, then you can start to improvise. You can start to do things the way that you want. Then you can start to innovate. The thing that they don't teach you in art school is they give you your degree, they kick you out the door, and they say, good luck. You know how to do all these things now. Now go do it. But they don't teach you the business of how to make money as an artist, which is a huge failing. I think there should be I think half the school should be your art schooling, and the other half should be the business of art. What do galleries expect? What do collectors look for? How do you promote your art? And I don't mean you put up social media videos, which are necessary, but it's shouting into the void. You can't make sure that your posts get to people who collect and buy art. You can't sit around and hope that somebody's going to see one of your posts and then buy it through your DMs. That's not how it works. People do not send you a message and say, I want that piece you just put up for $10,000. I mean, it could happen. But relying on that is not a business model. That's a lottery ticket. Don't listen to yourself about art business. Find out from other artists who sell their work. Ask them. I bet they'd be happy to talk to you about it. You need to visit galleries. Galleries are always good, but you need to be discerning. If they say, yes, we'll hang your stuff up and we'll keep 60%, are they going to promote you? What is their reach? Do they publish? Do they organize events around it? If what they're going to do is give you a space to hang it on the wall, and then you have to do all your own promotion, you could just do that yourself. You don't have to have it in a brick and mortar place to be able to promote your work and promote your story in a personal way, because that's going to be the key. Find galleries who regularly represent artists for real. They don't just hang stuff up and hope that people come in. They invest in artists. They're like, yes, well, so this guy's going to have X number of appearances. We're working on licensing for his images. Oftentimes galleries want to invest into people too, because if you make money, they're making money. It's in their best interest for your stuff to sell. If that's not how a gallery treats your work, don't work with them. They're either not a fit for you, they're not interested in long-term progression, and for you, it's your life. For them, if you're just an artist that gets hung up on the wall and they'll just move on to somebody else, that's not in your best interest. And a lot of that stuff you're just gonna have to feel out for yourself, but you are gonna have to try it. You're gonna have to try it to find out, and you're gonna have to fail. I would recommend to anybody asking me, should I be a professional artist? No, it's a crazy pursuit. It's a crazy thing to do. We're making things that nobody needs. You can't hold anything with it. It doesn't do anything other than provide enjoyment. In a world now where enjoyment comes from all these very cheap digital sources, you have everything at your fingertips for like $10 a month on any streaming service, paying thousands of dollars for a painting on the wall. Your audience is like this big. It's interesting when trying to find a blueprint for how to be successful in art, because there's a lot of gatekeeping. People like to keep their buyers secret. People like to keep the gallery they work with secret, other than when they have stuff up there. They don't like to give out names and stuff. Another industry that's a lot like that is music, except music is a much more trodden path as far as in the modern world. Because I'm a performer, as much as I am an artist, I do a lot of live painting, I do a lot of live appearances. I turned to people who producers I know turn to. And they're a great example of that. And they're not a sponsor of mine because I'm not in their industry, but Cosmic Academy has an amazing vision for how to make it work as a working musician. How to work in the industry. They teach you both the music and they teach you the business of music. And me being a performer and me mostly selling images of my art, not the actual art, much like artists are not selling you the song, they're selling you access to listen to the song, or they're selling you the performance of the song. I have used them as a model for how I promote, how I get booked for things, because I have those elements. I need to get booked to do a live show. I need to talk to promoters. I proceed in the same way that the model that they have come up with, and I take a lot of insight from other music producers that I know, and I've chosen that as my map for how to make it work. Even getting booked for a big show at 50 is still a success. There's not a timeline. Having an album that gets licensed for a commercial, it may not be what you had envisioned for yourself, but somebody's paying for your work, and that is a success. That is phenomenal, because so many people will never get that far. So many people will never complete a painting, will never complete a song, will never finish. Any progress is success. There's not a timeline. The goals are not time-oriented. Progress is success. What is small success to you is unachievable to somebody else. Don't look at people who make millions of dollars doing it, because that is not the map for success. That's a possibility. That is not the rule. The rule is always be putting yourself out there and always getting people to invest a little bit in you. Get booked for a show, get a print sold, get that story told. While on the subject of Cosmic Academy, I follow their social media stuff, and they give out a lot of free tips, invaluable tips that either you did not think of or you never would have thought of from very experienced people from the industry. They are giving out free tips. They have an academy. It is an academy, and you can pay for it, and you can actually take their whole course, which I'm sure is just great, though I have not taken it. The individuals who run it, they are not sitting in some ivory tower coming up with this stuff. They promote shows. They promote artists. They get the people who take their courses and really produce music, they get them on stage and paid. There is no more valuable source than people who actually do it and actually make it work. Listen to them. That's why I say talk to other artists who are successful. Listen to what they have to say, because they are doing the thing that you want to do. I turn to music producers because they seem to be more open about telling me all about how they got there. Whereas in the art world, people seem to gatekeep a lot and feel like it's all secret, like there's only so many people that can buy your art, and I have one, so you can't have them. The music industry is not like that. It's not like because you do a show, some other artist can't do it. They book people. They always need new acts. It's the same blueprint. And so I choose to follow that because it fits what I do more than maybe the classic model of you have to get placed at this one place and you promote yourself. And that is a number one rule they talk about, is you are gonna have to promote yourself. Operating in a vacuum will never get you anywhere. You can produce all the music you want in your studio at home, in your fabulous studio at home, but if you don't beat the streets, no one's ever gonna pay you for it. And no one will ever hear it. More importantly, no one will ever hear your vision, or in my case, see it. So the other thing I would say, you will have side quests and distractions and things that happen along the way. A great example for me, I actually thought I was going to be a sculptor. In the pursuit of being a sculptor, I like all my work to look very polished. I don't want anything in there that's not supposed to be there, no ugly welds. So I went to welding school and I learned to weld. And along the way, while I did do a bunch of cool sculptures that are sold and gone, I got distracted because you can make a lot of easy, in my opinion, money as an artist welding. Because the attention to detail and the fine motor skills I already have, and I like that stuff. I like working with my hands. I started doing that all the time because it made so much money. Like I was in my mid-20s. I'd never made so much money in my life. I couldn't believe they were $20 and $30 an hour, and then I'm working 10 hours a day. So I always had overtime. So I just spent all my time welding for other people, and I just never had any time to paint because I'd completely forgotten that the whole point of learning to weld had been because I wanted to sculpt. I even know a longtime friend of mine and a mentor when I was younger. I can remember I went into his studio because he did massive sculptures that were always commissioned. He got a couple of commissions for big sculptures. He needed a space, so he rented a space and intended to rent it until he got the sculpture done and then was going to let it go. But he made a lot of money on it, and then he got another commission, and pretty soon he started just buying equipment rather than renting the space and then not having any overhead and then waiting until the next commission and then just do it over again. He thought, I'm selling these sculptures, it'll always just roll in. And eventually it just sort of spiraled out. He's like, now I was making sculptures to support a space I had to pay for. I moved so far away from making what I liked, and I was just making anything anybody would pay for. He's like, it just turned into a job. He's like, I was just a production facility. I was no longer, did I feel like I had any creative freedom to really do what I thought was important as sculptures. He's like, I was just making corporate logos and in 3D, and all the magic just got sucked right out of it because in truth, he would say, I wasn't creating anymore. I was just making. It's easy to fall into the trap of, yes, I'm just making, but I am making it for a living. But, he would tell you he was unhappy, and that's why he stopped. He ran into a couple of dry spells, and the weight of the overhead collapsed. And that is a very real possibility, which is why I caution everybody, don't be so concerned about making your art be 100% of your income. That might be the most dangerous thing you try to do. It might be the best thing. There is a jumping off point at which that makes the most sense. But I would always caution artists that are new, the first goal is to be creating things that you love. Create stuff that's important to you and that you think is the greatest thing ever. If it doesn't feel like that, then you need to keep looking. Paint whatever you want. Sculpt whatever you want. Make whatever music you want, but make sure that you want it. Don't ever listen to anybody ever about what you paint. Paint what you love. If you love it that much, somebody else will too. I always make sure that whenever I make a sale, a large sale, that doesn't go into my personal bank account. That goes into the business bank account. And half of that stays saved. The other half gets directly invested into materials, new products, prints. If that is 100% of your income, at least 30 or 40% should just go straight into savings, something that's making money. If you don't know how to trade stocks, that's fine. There's mutual funds. All that stuff you can do all of that for no fees now. I'm not going to name any of the financial institutes you can do that on, but a Google search will show you the top 4, and they're all free to trade. Learn it. You learned how to paint, an ephemeral thing about translating ideas in your head that no one can see into this flat 2D design and make it believable. That's much harder than stock trading, which is statistics and research that sort of thing. But if you don't want to do that, that's fine. Invest in property. You can invest in gold, I guess, but make your money make more money. Don't just decide, oh, well, I just made $20,000 on this, I'm going to go rent a studio. Wrong answer, because you don't know when the next sale is going to be. The business of art is very different than being an artist. You can be an artist and never have anyone see your stuff. You're still an artist. You can be a very good artist. There's actually many very good artists that weren't discovered till they were dead. No one even knew they painted. You're going to have to find your own path for how do you make time in your life to paint or make music or dance, whatever it is. If you're good with working a full-time job and then staying up all night, painting or working on anything all night, and then have 3 hours of sleep and go, if that works for you, sure. My experience is that is a great formula for burnout. You need some sort of workout routine to keep you sane and to keep you healthy. You need to eat well, meaning less processed foods, more cooking at home. It's cheaper. It's cheaper, and it's much better for you. Because if you don't feed this, there's no energy here to make the thing you're making. You have to take care of this like it's a machine. It's the creative machine. You have to keep it well oiled. You have to keep it happy. That also means some days, even though you feel guilty and you feel like, man, I should really be painting, but I'm really exhausted, going in and messing up the painting you're working on because you did sloppy work or you didn't really want to and you just forced it. That might have been a day you should have gone and played with your dog. Or go see if the neighbors want to grill out. You have to take care of your mind because your mind is the thing that you have as a commodity, as an artist. It's not just your hands, it's not just your skills. Those things take hours to cultivate. The drive to do it and the ideas that you have in your head, that's your biggest asset. If you feel stalled now, wait until you burn out and can't paint. Not being able to paint anymore because you no longer have the drive, or it just becomes an anxiety-making ball every time you look at a canvas. Now you're at a brick wall. So taking care of yourself along the way and gradually easing in those hours, that is a sustainable model and a thing that with time is proven to make a success. But it is slow and it is a very long road. Just because you are not painting 100% of the time, or you're not full-time painting, does not make you a less legitimate artist. You don't have to do it 5 days a week like your job for you to be a relevant, legitimate, and even phenomenal artist. At least in my opinion, and I can only speak for myself, it's the wiser path to slowly move into making 100% of your money from your art. I personally really don't care if anybody buys the originals because in my case, painting's a compulsion. I can't stop painting. When I do put my energy into other things like businesses that I run or even fixing my house, if I go a week without painting, I'm a very difficult person to get along with because more and more of my mind is over here phantom painting and not paying attention to anything else. And anybody that distracts me from either doing the things that I have to do and this part of my brain phantom painting is now in my way and now I'm grumpy. So for me, I can't help it. I am in the unfortunate position of I have to paint. So that's either going to be work all day and then paint all night, just burn myself out, or I had to sculpt my life around making time to paint. Working part-time, painting part-time, doesn't make you any less of a legitimate artist. The distinction of being a professional artist, you just have to make money at it, in my opinion. You don't have to all of a sudden go from working a job to making all this money painting, because I'm going to tell you, while it has happened for people, we're talking about a lottery ticket. Some patron decided you were the greatest thing they'd ever seen, and they just buy all your stuff because then they're going to either resell it or they buy the licensing or whatever, and you just have this massive income every year. Sure, it happens. Do I know anyone personally, like as in they're my buddies and they do that? No. And I know a lot of artists. I have met guys like that. Yeah. But more often the story is, especially from artists that I know, and myself in particular, is it's a slow, gradual process from I make no money at my art to sometimes I make money at my art to I consistently have stuff moving and I consistently have people looking forward to my next painting or looking forward to my next product that's from my paintings. That's a gradual process, and it's a thing that you will have to sculpt yourself. I don't have any magic answers. If you have the stomach to be a professional artist and paint, whether people like it or not, you probably can be an entrepreneur. All of this is from my perspective and the road that I took to get here. If you have had a different experience or you have other ideas that you think would be helpful to other young artists, please leave them in the comments, because my experience is just from my own one point of view. And what works for me might not work for other people. So thanks for tuning in. I'm glad you stayed this long, and there's more to come.